This episode is full of holes. You're in the Playhouse. Welcome to the Playhouse. I'm Uncle Paul. And it's time for our very special hellos. Hello to Matthew Street and the Sticker Mania family. Dave Sudstrom, Brendan Snyder, Beetle Dave, Shauna Eve Lee, Jerome Luby, Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion, Johnny P. from Kentucky, Beetle Dustino, Mark Williams, Ron Gilday, Rosie and Gary C., Kelly, first generation fan Mr. Winston O. Boogie. Now, if you'd like a special hello, or you'd like to dedicate a special hello, please leave it in the comments below, and we will say hello in a future episode. And that's our very special hellos for today. Well, in episode 2, we were here talking about my first Suitbox record player, Steelman. And today, we're going to be talking about the Beatles. We're back. No, that's it. And the American Capitol 45's, with mainly centering on the picture sleeves and some brief history about them. So we're going to start. These are in order of release. So this is She Loves You. Of course, this was on Swan Records, because obviously, as many Playhouse members know, that Capitol passed on many of the earlier Beatle recordings. The Capitol didn't feel the Beatles were worthy to release it until I Want to Hold Your Hand. So they had first refusal, Capitol, as they were signed to Capitol. But so other labels, they VJ, I think we're going to be discussing that. But we're going to also be centering on, because we've talked about this extensively in the Playhouse, the Dezo Hoffmann photo shoot. You can see, okay, this was a big photo shoot. And this picture was used the most. But we've talked about a little fun controversy that the Playhouse is keeping alive. Not a controversy, but something fun. And we're going to it right now with the 1964 I Want to Hold Your Hand picture sleeve. And another one there. All right. So, of course, this is the classic. This has been reissued many times, and we're going to show them all to you, hopefully. So, this is the thing that we've talked about extensively, that the cigarette that Paul McCartney was just randomly holding was airbrushed out sometimes. And we noticed, because this is not something that many people have talked about earlier, that this is a 1964 Beatles shirt tag, and that it was airbrushed out on the shirt tag, again, starting as early as 1964, because most in the Beatle community thought it was first airbrushed out in the 1984 reissue picture sleeve. And here it is, and you'll see right there. Now, this was 20 years later, and you can understand then, okay, they don't want to have showing that Paul smoked. Just like as all Playhouse members watched Get Back on the Disney Channel, there was a disclaimer that we were about to see the Beatles smoke. All right. So, a few more, that Dezo Hoffmann photo, because we just love it here, and then we get to show you other items. We've talked about this in our Lunchbox episode, but here the cigarette, no problem, because it's a Beatles caboodle kit, so it was on that. And then, now this came out recently. This was for Record Store Day on Black Friday of 2024. And yes, by now, they're not airbrushing the cigarette anymore. It's just funny that the hype sticker on this brand new 60th anniversary release of the original I Want to Hold Your Hand picture sleeve, they put the hype sticker over where you would pull. I don't think that was intentional because of the cigarette. Now, we were talking about 45's in a previous episode, and how when 45's are marketed today, they don't have the large adapter hole You see? So again, this is a 1964 issue of I Want to Hold Your Hand. Which again, this is the way people would put them on their record players in those days, because you had a separate 45 adapter when you played those, and then you took it off to put on your records. Here, I'm going to show you this real fast. Here it is from the good old Steelman. You see? So this is a classic late 1950s 45 adapter, purposely made, and even says 45 on that. You slip your record on. So now for all modern records, for whatever reason, because they know, that they don't want to bother or cut out the record, and people don't have adapters anymore. So they come with a small spindle hull, which is fun to have, but I don't know. We like things old school here in the Playhouse. Now, again, staying with the Dezo Hoffmann photo, this is a set of 4. These came out only exclusively at Target to celebrate the Beatles' one album that was a tremendous seller of their greatest hits. And they released, again, a set of 4. This is the original picture sleeve, but why I'm bringing this up as well, it's the only one that's not in the Playhouse collection. I'm going to tell you briefly why. The Can't Buy Me Love picture sleeve, backed with You Can't Do That, but using the same, without the cigarette, of course, airbrushed, picture as the I Want to Hold Your Hand picture sleeve, because it was put out real fast, was only available on the West Coast. So again, when you talk about not necessarily supply and demand, but the ability to get it. So that's why this is the most valuable, even though we don't talk about price, but I would say then rare, more than, valuable, but it is valuable. Picture sleeve. But inside here, there's no worry about people mistaking it. They put it on hard stock. And these, by the way, came with a t-shirt and stuff. These are really fun. And sometimes these boxes get damaged. But anyway, so that's why you can't find a legitimate, if you find a Can't Buy Me Love picture sleeve, it's definitely from the West Coast, and it was not available at all. The record was, of course, but it had no picture sleeve. But that was rare, because all the Beatle singles had picture sleeves, except Hey Jude, Get Back, and Something. But every other Beatles single that was released while they were together had an American picture sleeve. I just want to show you the other Target ones real fast before we show you more originals. This is Helping Them Down, of course. Replicates everything. Hello, Goodbye, I Am the Walrus. And they issued Let It Be. So again, these were only available at Target as an exclusive with the t-shirt. They're very fun, collectible. Hunt down. A lot of times, again, we show things because we know many people know about them, but maybe perhaps you're discovering something that you didn't know existed, and that's why we also like to share it. All right, so we're going to move along. Now, the Beatles, of course, did some early tracks again before Capitol. So this is the My Bonnie. This was on MGM Records, where they were performing backing singer Tony Sheridan. It was 2 of those. Here's also when they were issued on VJ Records, again, pre-Capitol. Do you want to know a secret? Thank you, girl. Now here's the other MGM. This is rarer than the one we just showed you, the green one, My Bonnie. This is why in Cry for a Shadow, and with Tony Sheridan, very fun sleeve. I mean, there's nothing much to it, but you don't see them very often. Right? And then there was Tolly Records, who issued the original Love Me Do, P.S. I Love You. They had a picture sleeve. Now, I admit, when these first came out, no one cared about the Beatles, so they were just issued in a die-cut sleeve. They still came out in 1964, but meaning these companies still had the rights to issue the records, but they put them out, meaning, yes, let's put them out now that everyone knows about the Beatles, after February 9th, 1964, and all Playhouse members know what happened there. All right, that day. Now, these are Capitol Records, and there's 2 of them. Now, EPs were very popular, standing for extended play, overseas, but in America, especially during this time, from 1964 on, pop groups really didn't issue too many EPs. I know Elvis did. They said they were more popular in the 50s, these four songs. But for the Beatles, they just didn't sell. But yet, here's that famous Dezo Hoffmann photo session being used for a rollover Beethoven, This Boy, Oh My Loving, Please Please Me. And also interesting is on this EP, even though it's Capitol Records, they didn't use the famous orange and yellow swirl. And this is the more common version. We're gonna, it says on the Capitol area here, it doesn't say records. Now on the rarer version, records is printed, but I think this was just maybe put out too hastily, as a lot of things were in those days. All right, now we showed this once in episode 1, but we still love it. Okay, the picture sleeve for the instrumentals that George Martin did for the Beatles' first motion picture, A Hard Day's Night, and I Love Her, and Ringo's theme. Now, how many times can they use the Dezo Hoffmann photo? Multiple times. Here's I'll Cry Instead, cigarette in Paul McCartney's hand, I'm Happy Just to Dance with You. So here's the other 4 by the Beatles EP. Again, Capitol only issued 2, and this one you don't see as much. And now they did. We were just talking about how they didn't use the orange and yellow swirl for the first one, but here they did. I like the font style. That's just pretty cool to see 4 by the Beatles at the top. So there's the other. These again, you don't see these very often. Now again, we were talking about the Dezo Hoffmann photographs, so we just wanted to share these with you. So these are original. These are NEM pics. These are beautiful. These are on very hard stock. And so they issued these in England, I believe, in 1963. Very nice promotional. But these are from all the photos that were used on the picture sleeve. And these famous ones, this is an entire set. They each get a nice photo. I love these. And yeah. So nice to have there in the Playhouse. And now we're going to move on because we want to show you reproduction. We're going to have a little education here on reproductions. Now we have, moving on to the later years, the original Lady Madonna picture sleeve. Now this was issued in 1968, was obviously the song, and this sleeve, a lot of them, okay, they also, it's difficult, they get what they call ringwear because the record, now, like if someone knew how to keep them 1968 like this, the sleeve wouldn't have any ringwear because no one was thinking about that, especially if they were just carrying them in their tune totes, which we covered just a few episodes ago. But beware, it's a repro alert. Here, because they were all reproduced. So we're going to try and share something. I'm sure serious collectors know this stuff. This is totally false. And here's the original. You'd think by side, oh, okay, who cares? They did a wonderful job. But any purist and collector of Beatle records, I think, believe it or not, I got this by accident because I wasn't as educated in the mid-'80s on this type of stuff. So we're going to give you a little hint or factual things, all right? Because sometimes people don't even know. If you're at a show, Beatles convention or whatever, and you see someone selling Beatle picture sleeves, they honestly don't know that they're selling reproductions. All of the Beatle Capitol picture sleeves have a tiny little circle, this is the original, that says printed in USA. Okay? Sometimes they're hard to find depending on the artwork and the picture. But that's the one thing that those reproducers, bootleggers, we're going to call them bootleggers, didn't do. So that's the only difference. Printed in USA, but nothing right here. You said, but if at a quick glance at a show, say, wow, I found a nice copy of the Lady Madonna picture sleeve. And I guess we have to go one further on this. Okay, now this sleeve also came, and I know Frank is thinking about this if he's watching, Mr. Stickermania. It came with an insert to join the Beatles fan club. A lot of times you don't get the picture sleeve with this insert because, it just gets lost or used over time. Right, so we're going to just go to fast modern day. So we have all the picture sleeves that were ever released for the Beatles as a group. So when Love Me Do at its 50th anniversary in 1982, they released this nice picture sleeve. This was promoting the Beatles' 20 Greatest Hits album on Capitol. And of course then the compilation of their movie songs. This was the single, of course. This was a movie medley. They were very popular. And it's funny because the movie medley does not appear on the Real Music album. And the backside became George's I'm Happy Just to Dance with You. Now, of course, this was bootlegged, but no official copies got out with this. And then we already talked about the infamous, we'll call it. We're joking, of course, at the Playhouse. The reissue sleeve for the anniversary, 1984, for I Want to Hold Your Hand. And then we're going to move on to, of course, we have more compilations. The Got to Get You Into My Life picture sleeve, and the Obladi Oblada picture sleeve. And then, of course, when we come to the anthology, 1995's Free as a Bird, the three Beatles finished off John's demo. It was extremely popular, as everyone knows. And then we, of course, have the other one, the number 2 song, Real Love. And then we know in 2023, Now and Then came out finally, the third and final Beatles track. And yes, we have Baby It's You somewhere here, in case Playhouse members are saying, oh, you were going to show everyone. It's here, I promise you. All right. Thank you so much for staying with us and delving into the world of Beatles 45 picture sleeves. And let me know in the comments what Beatles 45 picture sleeves you have in your collection. But for now, the Playhouse is closed. Thanks, Joe Friday.